Welcome to this walkthrough of the Lozen virtual trial. You can get access at the VirtualZ website, virtualzcomputing.com. Simply navigate to Try Lozen to register and obtain login credentials. When you log in, you will see a simple text-based menu that allows selection from amongst various of the VSAM functions that we make available through the Lozen API. This is driven by our sample Java program that exercises that API to show Lozen functionality. This sample is included in the full Lozen distribution and can be run against Lozen installed on your IBM Z mainframe. The full Lozen installation is also available for a free 60-day trial. If we start by selecting option 1, we see a list of the files currently available, both VSAM and ordinary sequential. Simply press Enter to return to the main menu. At the top of the screen, we see some information about the file that is currently selected for operations through the menu system. We can see the mount point, which is the file name as it appears in the local file system of the client as exposed through NFS. We also see the IBM Z dataset name, or DSN, with some minimal information about the associated dataset. Finally, we can see the name of the target IBM Z system that is hosting the VSAM files we will access through the menu. Moving on, if we select menu option 2, we can review more extensive file metadata. For instance, we see that it is a VSAM key sequence dataset with an 80-byte logical record length. We see that the key information starts in the first byte of the record and is 8 bytes long. Another important point to note is the isTransform field. In this case, we see it is set to false. This simply means that when we access the VSAM data, we will not be doing any data transformation to translate from the native IBM EBCDIC code page, shown here as IBM 1047, into another format such as UTF-8 or ASCII. This is an extremely powerful feature that VirtualZ provides out of the box. Data being retrieved from IBM Z by a client running on Linux or Windows may want the data in a format that is more friendly to the client platform or application. The complications for doing this include not only the code pages, that is EBCDIC to ASCII for example, but also the native data types and field formats that are used by datasets on IBM Z, such as packed or zone decimal, various binary formats, date-time formats, etc. Furthermore, VSAM files, unlike relational databases, do not include a metadata facility to describe the structure of the data. To and through VSAM, the data are simply a stream of bytes. The structure of the data is typically described in external files, such as COBOL copybooks. The VirtualZ data transformation capability can read those COBOL copybooks or other formats such as user-created XML documents to understand the structure of the data. We can then successfully transform the data field by field during the data transfer. The transformation can be run on IBM Z in a zip-enabled workload, or it can be done on the client side, completely avoiding the expenditure of IBM Z MIPS. Now the data can be easily accessed in formats that can be understood and manipulated by applications and users on Linux or Windows operating on cloud or customer data centers. We will come back to this later in this session. Now, pressing Enter again to return to the menu, let's move on. We see a series of operations against the selected file. First, we can read the file sequentially from the beginning to the end with option 3. For the purpose of this interactive trial, we are using a very small dataset containing only 3 records. Since we did not do the data transformation, we display the data in a hex dump format. Now, if we return to the menu and select option 4, we can take advantage of the VSAM capability to read from the end of the file to the beginning. To be clear, we can position to any record in the file by key or record number and then browse the file forwards or backwards. Returning to the menu and selecting option 5, we can position to and read just record 2 by the key value key 00002. VSAM also supports reading by relative record number. If we return to the menu and select option 6, we can see exactly this functionality. In this case, we have read record number 3, which is accessed using relative record number 2. Relative record numbers start with record 0 for the first record. Now let's return to the topic of data transformation and see some options there. We talked about the data transformation capability in terms of code page and field data types, but there is additional capability to make the data even more useful. In addition to code, page, and field formats, we can format the data into well-known industry standard file or document formats such as CSV or comma-separated value, seen here with option 7 from the menu. In this case, we have used the CSV convention of listing out the field names in the first row of the data. This format can be read or imported directly into many end-user tools, including Microsoft Excel or various report writers, or even desktop database tools. If we read this data into Microsoft Excel, for example, that first row will automatically be used to create column headings. Some other common formats we can transform into include XML, option 8. This is an industry-standard data transport format that can be read by many vendor or user-created applications. If we select option 9, we can see the same data in JSON format or JavaScript object notation. This format is commonly used by rich web applications for user self-service data inquiries, for example. Let's move on now to some additional VSAM capabilities that are commonly used in customer business applications. We can see these functions in action to operate on individual records in a file or indeed to replace an entire file. This could be used, for example, to update customer information. With option 10, we can see that we have taken a 2-record file and replaced it with a single new record. Option 11 shows adding or appending a record to the end of the file. Option 12 shows inserting a new record between existing records. Finally, option 13 shows how we can delete a single record from a file. In addition to file operations, we can also issue any supported command to IBM Z access method services via IDCAMs. This can be useful and necessary to do things programmatically, such as allocating a new VSAM file, or changing the file allocations, or adding or updating indexes. Here we use the listcat command to display the deep details of a selected VSAM KSDS. Thank you for watching this walkthrough. We hope you have found it useful. To try Lozen on your IBM Z mainframe, please contact us via email at hello@virtualzcomputing.com.